Howdy, my name is Danny Rowe, and I work as a diversity education specialist at Texas A&M University at Galveston. I handle education around culture, gender, and international students, and a whole lot more as a diversity education specialist. I have a passion for leadership, and I believe it shows in many areas of my life. This starts from my sports when I was growing up. I worked to become a leader in sports teams. I was the captain my senior year. Um, in my undergraduate career, I took up many roles in student leadership, and my senior year, I became Texas A&M University Galveston Student Leader of the Year. Now, in my professional career, I joined many committees both at the university and in Galveston and Houston to further my professional leadership skills. I chose to tackle chapter 15 in our Northouse textbook we got going on here. It's over gender and leadership, and I chose this topic because I have a few coworkers whom I, whom I, whom I am close with that just came back from maternity leave, in the past year. And I noticed the attitudes around them leaving. So there were three different types of maternity leave that happened. One hand, I had a male coworker who left for a few weeks to help with his wife and their first child. So that was a new experience for him. So it was cool to see him take that, I guess like dad leave for a little while. Um, and then my supervisor just came back from her 3 months of being out with her first child. And finally, another coworker is back from maternity leave with her third child. So in each case, I saw the differences in attitudes around their leaving, and I thought it was interesting. The first case, some people did not agree with my male coworker getting the amount of time off. I even noticed one person saying, "Well, he didn't have the baby, so why is he taking the time off?" I think that we can all understand. It takes two or a tribe to really raise a child, and that's a hard time to go through. So I could understand it, but it's interesting to see some of my coworkers not feel that way. In my supervisor situation, this was her first child, and she had fallen ill a few months before her, or like during her pregnancy, like the first couple months of it. So she was in and out prior to taking that 3 months once the baby actually came. So some people did get agitated that she took the full amount of time off once the baby came. But again, this was her first child and she got sick. I understood it, but it is kind of frustrating sometimes. But yeah, and then the last coworker, the one that this was her third child. She didn't take the full time, the full 3 months off or anything. She felt like she was ready to come back. But sometimes I wonder if she was like expected to come back early since she's already done this a couple times. So that is just interesting. So I was interested in many ways that maternity leave and other gender specific ideals really affect, leadership abilities, not really abilities, but promotions, placements, and attitude of coworkers and others. Um, so in this chapter, Crystal Hoyt and Stephanie Simon covered the basics of gender in relation to leadership. So they covered things like the glass ceiling, gender differences in leadership styles, strengths, criticisms, how to apply it in your workplace. So I guess just starting with the first one, so the glass ceiling. So there was a time, really not that long ago, where the question, "Can women lead?" Like it was an actual question, which boggles my mind. Like I can't imagine that somebody would even feel that way. But since then, women have been trying to break these cultural barriers better. We know it as the glass ceiling, right? So always trying to like go somewhere, but there's that ceiling that's kind of invisible. So they constantly have to prove that they have knowledge to lead others. So I like the quote that was used in the book by Margaret Atwood. The very beginning of the chapter, it said, or kind of in the near the beginning, it said, "We still think of a powerful man as a born leader, and a powerful woman as an anomaly." So through this, I mean, I still think that that's true today. I mean, out of the the leadership on just my own campus, there's like one or two leaders in one or two women in administration. So there's definitely a difference there that I can see. Um, there's this cycle of oppression that happens with women's leadership roles where women are disproportionately in lower levels of education. Not that they have lower levels of education, but they're actually like their roles are in those lower authority roles. So when we think of leaders, like sometimes we automatically like it's just kind of one of those built-in mechanisms. Like think of a leader, sometimes it just jumps to a man in that role versus something else. So there's that gap there. So when talking about gender differences in leadership styles, there's a lot of research out there, and this chapter definitely covered a lot of it. But the research has found that women take authority roles with just natural ability. Wow, who knew? And that wasn't previously expected. So again, like I feel like my generation is talked a lot about these roles and are starting to break that down, but definitely the older generations, I can definitely see that still happening with these gender biases that are just it's blatant prejudice. I mean, talk about women getting paid less, getting not getting the same kind of promotions or job abilities. So it's strange. I mean, so when they talked about strengths, I mean, this is it's in everything we see. The male stereotype includes confidence, assertiveness, independence, decisiveness, when women are more stereotypical to have concern, sensitivity, warmth, helpfulness. Broken down, it's similar to a heteronormative view. I often bring it back to like something like Leave It to Beaver. Like you've got the mom and dad, and there's definitely roles where the mom is like caring and takes care of things, and the dad, it's his job to go out and make money. So it's those heteronormative roles that it's when people stray outside of those that break down society and culture starts to shift. Okay, so I can definitely see culture shifting now, where we're taking the equity, talking about what kind of oppression's out there and breaking that down to where we can have true equality. So, some of the criticisms about gender and leadership. Many times, gender gets pushed under general just diversity programs, and what can we do to up our numbers and everything like that. So it doesn't often get the time it needs to be discussed on colleges and university systems. Outdated policies continue, and biases still continue with women in the workplace. So application, we need to understand these biases and obstacles placed in front of gender and start to break them down. Okay, that's us. We must challenge the processes of our institutions and attitudes around us to truly achieve diversity. So, for us as master's students in higher education, about to, or some of us are already in these roles, I want us to see the differences that are here so we can start breaking down these systemic barriers, so we can stop the cycle of difference, the cycle of oppression, and start to get to equality. It shouldn't matter about gender, right? So we know that there are problems, and it's up to us to change it. We're the next generation of higher education administrators, and it's our time to bring equality to all, no matter their gender. Okay, so one last thing, real quick. I just want to bring this up because I work a lot with LGBT students, and so when we talk about gender, we usually just talk about the binary, male, female. So I just wanted to add one last item. Um, there's a growing population of people in the workforce and students that we're going to come across who identify as non-binary. So this means they do not associate as male or female, but a different option. Okay, so it could be a mix, neither, just a different option of gender, right? Um, so I believe that in a couple of decades, a chapter will emerge in books like this about the opportunities that we as higher education professionals um, have to include the population into our equality measures. So for us in this course, my reach is going to be small right now because it's just us talking, right? I want to encourage you to talk with each other or to me about this, about including these differences of gender and politics that go along with it. and how to best help, male, female, or gender nonconforming people in your university. Thanks. Have a good day.